Meet Bob. He'll soon be on the front lines of a battle that over 500 million people are fighting right now. Bob feels fine today, but his body is starting a ledger. Every choice he makes is a new entry in his book he's never even seen. And unfortunately for Bob, the accounting is starting to get pretty messy. Bob's body was built for the wilderness, but he's feeding it with highly processed food it wasn't designed to handle. Therefore, as Bob eats, he's getting fat. Next up, the comfort trap. Bob just traded his movement for a permanent spot on the couch. He's comfortable for sure, but at what expense? Then there's the stuff Bob can't blame on his choices. His genetics, the internal code his parents handed him, and also time. Every year that passes is just more pressure on a system that is already reaching its absolute limit. This is the moment the ledger finally closes and the tower falls. After years of stacking these risks, the diagnosis is official. Bob has type 2 diabetes. He's now a warrior in a war he never wanted, and the first signs of the struggles are about to show up in a way he definitely won't expect. It starts with a thirst that won't go away. Bob's drinking water like he's been in a desert, but it's never enough. His body is desperately trying to flush out all the excess sugar that's backing up in his blood. Bob figures maybe he's just getting older, or maybe the office is too dry. He has no idea that his blood is literally becoming syrupy. This is the hallmark of the battle. His body is overflowing with energy it can no longer use, and is starting to spill over. A few months go by and things get even weirder. Bob starts noticing ants swarming toward his urine. Then, the real danger sets in. Bob's nerves start to go quiet. He steps on something sharp, maybe a small pebble or a piece of glass, but he doesn't even feel it. Because his blood sugar has been so high for so long, the nerves in his feet are dying. A small wound turns into a full ulcer, and because his circulation is trash, it won't heal. Then, the infection spreads. The organs shut down. And for Bob, the fight ends here. But for us, the story is just the beginning, because humanity has spent thousands of years trying to figure out how to give the Bobs of the world a fighting chance. I want to take you back to ancient Egypt. Let's take a look at the Ebers Papyrus. It is one of the oldest medical to-do lists ever. Between cures for crocodile bites and hair loss is a description of a disease that makes people melt away into their urine. The doctors saw the symptoms, but their fix was wheat sprouts and earth. Obviously, it didn't work, but it shows that we've been tracking this enemy for over 3 millennia. Fast forward to the 1st century. Let's meet Aretaeus of Cappadocia. He's the one who actually gave this enemy a name, what we call diabetes now. In Greek, that means to siphon. He described the body as a pipe where everything just flows through. He said it was a melting down of the flesh into urine. He didn't know why it was happening, but he knew the body was losing the war. Heading over to the 5th century in India, physicians like Sushruta were the first ones to get really specific. They called diabetes madhumeha, in other words, honey urine, because they noticed ants swarming towards the patient's urine. But here's the real kicker. They were the first to realize that there were 2 types of diabetes. One group was born with it, and the other, the Bobs of the world, developed it later on in life through lifestyle. They were 1600 years ahead of their time. For a long time, the war went quiet, but the harm didn't. By the 11th century, a famous physician named Avicenna noticed something new. He saw that patients with this honey urine weren't just thirsty. They were also dealing with a massive loss of appetite and even infections in their limbs. He was the first to document the brutal complications that Bob faced in our intro. Then came Paracelsus in the 1500s. This guy was a rebel of science, and he almost cracked the code. He evaporated a patient's urine and found a white crystalline powder left behind. He was so close, but he made a bad call. He thought it was salt instead of sugar, and humanity spent another 100 years wandering in the dark because of it. Fast forward to 1674, meet Thomas Willis, the doctor to the King of England. He rediscovered the sweetness and let's just say his method was a little bit too hands-on. He described the urine as wonderfully sweet as if it were imbued with honey. He officially added the word mellitus to the name, which literally means honey sweet. So now we have diabetes mellitus, the siphoning of honey. Finally, we hit 1776, the same year America was born. A guy named Matthew Dobson was having a revolution of his own. He didn't just guess, he proved it. He evaporated the urine like Paracelsus did. He realized it was sugar. Then, he did the unthinkable. He checked the blood serum of his patients and found it tasted sweet too. It wasn't a kidney problem. The sugar was everywhere. It was in the blood, in the tissue, and spilling into the urine. For the first time in history, we stopped looking at the symptoms and started looking at the metabolism. We finally knew what the enemy was. Now, we just had to figure out how to stop it. So Dobson proved the sugar was everywhere. But where was it coming from? In 1869, a 22-year-old medical student named Paul Langerhans was looking through a microscope at a pancreas. He noticed these little clusters of cells scattered around like tiny islands. He had no idea what they did, so he just wrote them down and moved on. We later named them the Islets of Langerhans. It turns out Paul had just found out the headquarters of the entire war. He just didn't have the map yet. 20 years later, two researchers in Germany, Oskar Minkowski and John von Mering, they were trying to figure out if the pancreas helped with the process of digestion. They removed the pancreas from a dog, and a few days later, Minkowski noticed something gross but really brilliant. A swarm of flies was obsessed with the dog's urine. He tested it, found sugar, and realized that by removing the pancreas, they had accidentally given the dog diabetes. This was huge. We finally knew the pancreas was the general in charge of sugar. By the early 1900s, we knew the where and the what, but we still don't have the how to treat the disease. For patients like Bob, the only treatment was something called the starvation diet. Doctors like Frederick Allen would basically tell patients to eat almost nothing, sometimes as little as 400 calories a day, just to keep their blood sugar from skyrocketing. It was a brutal choice. Either die from diabetes in months, or starve yourselves to stay alive for maybe a few years. It was really our lowest point in the fight. Meet Frederick Banting. He was a surgeon with a wild idea. If we could extract whatever those islands in the pancreas were making, we could use it to save people. He teamed up with a student named Charles Best in a sweltering lab in Toronto. They spent a miserable summer grinding up pancreases and testing the extract on diabetic dogs. On dog number 92, it actually worked. The blood sugar dropped. They called the mystery juice Islets, what we know now as insulin. In January 1922, Banting and Best tried Islets on humans for the first time. Leonard Thompson was a 14-year-old boy who weighed only 65 pounds and was days away from dying. After giving the extract, his blood sugar immediately plummeted. He lived for another 13 years. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a resurrection. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity had landed a knockout blow on our fight. Between the 1920s to the 1970s, we got good at keeping Bobs alive, but it wasn't really perfect. We were using insulin taken from cows and pigs. It worked, but some people had allergic reactions. And let's be honest, relying on a slaughterhouse for your medicine isn't exactly the future that we think of. We needed something better, something that better fit us Bobs. That brings us to 1982. This was another massive Eureka moment. Scientists figured out how to use recombinant DNA technology. Basically, they taught bacteria how to grow human insulin. This was the world's first biotech drug. No more pigs, no more allergies, just pure lab-grown human insulin. We had officially turned the tide. For a long time, we thought the only way to help Bob was to just keep dumping more insulin into his system. But recently, scientists realized our bodies actually have a built-in regulator for this. They found a specific hormone in the gut called GLP1. This little molecule is like a traffic controller. It's responsible for balancing how much sugar stays in your system and how much your body actually wants to eat. You've definitely heard of Ozempic or Mounjaro. These drugs work by mimicking that GLP-1 hormone. It's a complete game changer because instead of just reacting to high sugar, it tells Bob's brain he's full and reminds his pancreas to get back to its main job, pumping out insulin to clear the sugar out from the blood and move it into his cells where it can actually be used for energy. It's the closest we've ever come to helping Bob manually reset that ledger we talked about earlier. But the real goal isn't just management. We want a complete fix, because us Bobs are lazy. Think about it. If the cells in Bob's pancreas that make insulin have completely burned out, why not just replace them? We're now learning how to use stem cells to grow fresh, working insulin producers in the lab and then transplant back into our body. It's like giving a veteran warrior a brand new set of armor so he can get back into the fight. Another futuristic approach is the CRISPR technology. This is the ultimate edit button for Bob's DNA. We're talking about going into the genetic code he was born with, the terms and conditions that made his body struggle to manage sugar in the first place, and then actually rewriting them. We're testing ways to edit the genes to fix the underlying problems. We've truly come a long way since the ancient days, but for the millions of Bobs out there, the battle isn't over. Diabetes is still a crusade that's been dragging on for centuries. It's claimed countless of lives, and we haven't reached a peace treaty yet. Fortunately, humanity is on the move. Every discovery and Eureka we've talked about today is a step closer to a panacea. We haven't won the war yet, and as long as the global ledger keeps growing, this remains as an unfinished fight. Thank you for watching.